This is the plaintiff, Marie White. She says she rented a room in the defendant's house, and when she arrived, she found out there were some sketchy people living there that she wasn't told about. She knew she didn't feel comfortable there. Now wants the defendant to return the $650 room rental she paid. That's why she's suing. This is the defendant, David Ortiz. He says the plaintiff saw one of his roommates when she came to the house and changed her mind about moving in. She kept his key for a month. He couldn't rent it out to someone else. And he's not about to take a loss because the plaintiff is indecisive. He's accused of refusing to budge.
All parties, please raise your right hands. The Honorable Judge Marilyn Leon presiding. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
All right, Ms. White, you are suing Mr. Ortiz, your would-be landlord, for $650 of a refund because, according to you, you decided not to move in. Talk to me. How did you find his apartment and why were you moving to his apartment?
I recently moved to the Florida area, and I was living with my kids, but I decided I wanted to get me my own place. So I was looking in Craigslist, and I found David Ortiz. When I went and looked at the house looked fine, but it was kind of dusty. I did meet a roommate, and I think I kind of made a rash decision. It was on April the 1st, Easter weekend. And I still had not gotten my clothes and stuff from my home in Texas.
Okay, so hold on. So you made a rash decision. Why?
Yeah, I don't know why I did. I really can't say why I did it.
You were sick of your kids?
I saw it, yeah,
you were sick of your kids and you didn't want to continue. Well, and I'm sure they had, I mean, I'm sure you all love each other, but it's very hard to live under the same roof. All right, so and according to you, there were some Thomas Kincaid pictures and you like Thomas Kincaid.
I am a Thomas Kincaid fan, and I saw one. I felt okay. I knew.
So, how much did you hand over? You were renting a room, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
$850.
Okay, so and of that $850, just to be clear, how much of it was rent? $200 was a non-refundable deposit, and $650 was for rent. All right. So now, what happens in April? Do you move in?
No, I didn't. I left, went to Texas Easter weekend. I came back that Sunday. And as I was doing my moving, I was thinking this wouldn't be a good idea.
When did you decide it wouldn't be a good idea?
It was the first, second, third, about the third or the fourth.
So are you testifying that 2 days after handing the money, you changed your mind?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So
that Monday.
Tell me just a second. How did you change your mind? Did you talk to him in person? Did you send him a text? Did you send him an email?
No, I went by and took him his key back. I gave the key to a roommate, but I couldn't catch up with David.
Okay.
I couldn't catch David.
So who did you give the key to?
The roommate that had the room that was right next to the room I was supposed to have.
Why couldn't you get in touch with David? Didn't you have a phone number for him?
He didn't answer the phone, and he wasn't there. And so I sent a certified letter.
So you sent him a certified letter when?
A week later.
Okay.
Because when I took the key back, I gave him time to contact me.
Did you ever sign a lease?
Did. No, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Ortiz, let me hear from you.
All right. So I actually didn't hear about her not wanting the place for 3 weeks, and I heard it from my roommate.
Okay. Can I just ask, I'm kind of confused. Are you living in that house?
Yes, I am.
Oh, so you noticed that she wasn't in there, right? It wasn't like a big surprise.
I did. She actually told me that she was going to go to Texas. I think she was selling a house. She'll be back. She said she'll probably be back in the 3rd week of the month. So after I said, that's fine. I didn't rent the place because she actually rented it. I mean, that was the whole idea for her to rent the place. So as far as I'm concerned, that was her place and she had the key. I didn't hear about her not wanting the place literally from her till the 3rd.
Okay, but when did you hear? I'm just curious. When did you hear
from? The following month.
Hold on. When did you hear from the roommate? Hey, the lady left the key.
It was 3 weeks. She said she brought the key. She came in and said something to him, and he told her to see me. he's not the person to talk to.
Right, but did she leave him the key?
She left him the key.
Okay, and he gave you the key. Okay, so he gave you the key the same day, but you're saying that wasn't 2 days later or 7 days later. No. It was 3 weeks later. Okay, and then
that is correct.
You don't hear from her until May 3rd, and what does she tell you on May 3rd?
She said she wanted her money back, and I said, no, you're renting the place, so that's fine. You're not going to be living here. That's good, too. Then she said she's going to take him to court, and I said, okay, that's fine. Now, Ms. Wyke, can you prove... I'm just curious, can you prove when it is that you notified him that you didn't want the place?
Yes,
because you first said 2 days later, then you said 7 days later. When is it?
That Wednesday.
That doesn't tell me. Is it 1 day later, 2 days later, 8 days later? How many days after?
5 days. This is about 5 or 7 days from
Okay. And now can you tell me when you so that's what your testimony is. And my question is, when is the first time you put anything in writing? You said you sent a certified letter.
Yes, another week.
Okay.
I think it was on the 14th. Because I didn't hear from him. I couldn't catch him. So I sent a certified letter so that I would have proof that
well, clearly she's sending a certified letter, Mr. Ortiz. So clearly she's sending a certified letter on the 14th. Right. So she, it's obvious that it's before 3 weeks before because she, yeah, but either way, let me ask you a question. If you pay for rent on April 1st and then 3 days later you change your mind, what would make you think that you get your rent back for that month?
Because the $200 was the fee that I felt that I should have paid.
Right, but you already paid. April 1st already came and went. He can't get somebody for the month of April. April 1st already came and went. So why would you get your money back for April?
Because when me and him was talking about the contract, he said he would give me time to make up my mind because I did rush into that.
Now here's a different thing. Okay, let me explain something to you. When he is looking for a tenant, he is not looking for the tenant he has to give money back to. He's looking for the tenant he wouldn't have to give money back to. So I don't think he's sitting around saying, oh, I know you're rushed, darling. Whatever you do after you give me this money and you pay for rent April 1st through April 30th, I'll just give you your money back. I won't pay bills with it. So you just take your sweet time in deciding whether you want to live here, even though rent has started ticking and the clock has started. That's not what the guy who's renting rooms in his house is doing. The guy renting rooms in his house needs the money. And that guy probably doesn't want to give you an out and probably never told you that you had an out. But now you're going to have to be proving to me that he said you can change your mind, because that's not normal. Normal is this. If you don't have a signed lease, then by default, by operation of law, it becomes, under the eyes of the state of Florida, a month-to-month tenancy, which has certain requirements for the tenant and for the landlord. Either of you can pull out the rug from the other one, but you've got to give 30 days notice.
Yes.
Okay, or 15 days notice. In your state, it happens to be 15 days notice. So if on April 15th or April 14th, you tell him that you don't want to rent for May, then you're good for May. You're not going to be obligated to pay May. So you handled it beautifully to be able to get out of paying May on a month-to-month tenancy. But you're here in court saying, I know I took possession. Whether you physically took possession makes no difference. You were handed a key, and it's yours, and you paid. And 3 days later, or whether it's 3 days, 3 minutes, 3 hours, or 3 weeks, like he's trying to say, kind of doesn't make a difference. It's yours for April. You don't get the money back for April. You don't get to change your mind. Out of curiosity, where are you living now?
I'm in Florida. I bought a house.
Good for you. You bought a house? You bought, just a second.
Yes,
you bought a house. Oh, maybe that's why she changed her mind. But when did you buy the house?
May 24th.
Right. So what happened is you decided not to rent it. By the way, why did you decide not to rent it?
The truth is because the young lady that I met, I felt she was on drugs. He said she was there to clean the house. The house wasn't clean. And I just didn't feel like it would be a safe place for me.
I think that the reason you changed your mind is because you bought a house. Because I just heard that you bought a house a few weeks later. But let's say this is the reason you changed your mind, the one you just gave me. And that could be the best decision you ever made. The thing is, it should cost you that money of April. And you want it to cost him that money because you were rash And that's not how it works. Verdict for the defendant. Good luck, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good day.
So the plaintiff loses her case. The defendant prevails. Ms. Wyke, let me ask you, what are you thinking right now? You learned a lesson from the judge about renting, didn't you?
You know what? He came in there. He did lie about the time frame, and you seen that. But that's okay, because you know what? There's going to be no good come from him. He's going to have bad luck with that. I wish him the best.
You think he's going to have bad luck? Really? Why?
Yes, he is, because he lied.
Mr. Ortiz, you okay with this, Mr. Ortiz? I'm sure you're satisfied.
I'm very
you're happy,
happy,
right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, good for you. Congratulations.
Doug, I got to say, especially when you rent a room in somebody's house or apartment, you've got to ask specific questions about who else may have rented a room there. If you know you have eyes wide open, as the plaintiff did in this case, you're simply out of luck. Ask questions beforehand.
Have either one of you made a ruling and after the case decided you made the wrong ruling?
Only just about every time I make a ruling. You always, I think, not always, you often walk away with a little bit of self-doubt about whether you got it exactly right on the liability issue or exactly right on the damages issue. So I think that that's one of the great things about being a judge, is that after the fact, you might have a chance to make it right still. You usually do. And I remember a case in particular a few years ago where I had to make a decision whether to designate someone a sexual predator under Florida law based on the offense. And I ruled one way in the courtroom, and I slept on it for a couple of days, and I came back and I changed my ruling later, and I think I got it right in the end.
Yeah, that is kind of the nice thing. You have do-overs, automatic do-overs when you're a judge, pretty much.
Right.
I mean, there's some things you can't do over, like a ruling during a trial, and there's a jury. If you blew it,
sometimes you're under the gun. Exactly. Right. Or if you're in the civil realm, you're trying to make a decision about, and I've had this come up, there's an election on Friday, and on Thursday you've got an emergency motion to enjoin the election or to do something that's just going to totally toss the thing upside down. Or I also had one where there was a prize fight, a title fight that was about to go on a boxing match, and one of the parties was asking me to stop the fight from going forward.
Yeah, I remember
as a manager of one of the two fighters.
Right.
So I ended up not enjoining the fight. I let the fight go forward. I think it was the right decision.